No. That's wrong. Dixie Diamonds 23. Dixie, 7:25 a.m. Though breakfast had been placed directly in front of them, Jerald's fast continued while poor Mr. Squirrely Cheeky Pie's scant nibble of a single pecan was far more of a tease than a satiating please. At Balloony's urging, the party of five scurried from the kitchen to the front porch, where Balloony looked up at the space between two rafters where it had stashed the catch. "The diamonds are right up here," Balloony said as it floated up, reached in with his reappearing arms and hands, pulled the bag out, and then floated down. "I don't mean to sound paranoid, but once one is held prisoner by a maniacal, merciless monster, caution becomes a habit. Perhaps it would be best if we took these inside rather than opening the bag out here." "Well," Lizzie said with a nod and a smile, "you're the expert on this Brency fellow. In we shall go," she concluded, reopening the door and holding it for the others to troop in. Looking at the bag, a bemused Edward said, "David Jones' department store? That bag's had quite the journey. So far as I know, the closest David Jones is way down in Brisbane." "Nearly," Lizzie said with a smile and a nod as she closed the door behind her. "There's one in Sunshine Plaza in Maroochydore." "Really?" Edward replied, his voice teasing. "However do you know that?" "Shopping with Sarah Morse, of course," Lizzie said with a smile. "If we could focus," Balloony politely pled. "Oh, of course," Ed said as he tilted his head in Jerald's direction, then nodded towards the table and asked, "Would you like a boost?" No need," Jerald replied as he leapt cat-like from floor to chair to table. "Thank you anyway." "Quite welcome," Eddie replied, stroking Jerald's head. Balloony, floating over the table with the plastic bag in hand as the two humans sat in chairs while the two four-legged co-conspirators sat on the table and began nibbling, said, "Now what exactly should we do? Do with the diamonds? Do about Brency? And while we're at it, is there any way we could try to find out about Dr. Rosier?" "All very important questions," Lizzie said, brow furrowed. "But would it be all right to start with the diamonds? I've never seen 87 diamonds outside a jewelry store before." "Very well," Balloony replied as it hovered above the table, placed the bag in its center, grasped the bag from the bottom, and then floated slowly upward, leaving the just over 7 dozen glistening stones in the center. Balloony's action was followed by Lizzie's reaction of whispering, "Oh my," as Edward let out a long whistle of appreciation. Shaking his head slowly back and forth, Eddie said, "Wonder how much those are worth." "Well, we can weigh them," Lizzie said. "That would give us some idea, right?" "It would, wouldn't it?" Eddie exclaimed. "Remember when we went shopping for your engagement ring and that cheeky bloke at Arnold & Sack tried to shame me into buying you a bigger ring by asking how much you were worth to me?" "His name was Sharky. I remember because I called him a snarky Sharky before we left. And then we went to Tavernier's and the saleswoman was so helpful that you wound up getting me a bigger ring than you'd planned. Because she earned it rather than trying to manipulate me emotionally like that cheeky fella. No offense intended to you, Mr. Cheeky Pie." Cheeky, cheeks bulging with food, shook his head, swallowed, then mumbled around a mouth still filled with masticated, that's a fancy word for chewed, pecan, none taken, before returning to his break feast. "The saleswoman's name was Kathleen Tierney. Do you remember what she told us about carrots, that they're a measure of weight rather than size, per se?" "Now that you remind me, I do." "And how much does a carrot weigh?" Lizzie asked. "Sounds like a question for Bugs Bunny. I don't remember." "A carrot weighs 2/10 of a gram or 2 decigrams, she said with a smile and a nod. "We wound up with this lovely 2-carat Asher cut," she added, holding her left hand out, displaying her engagement ring and wedding band. "But if we weigh the diamonds, we can simply divide by 0.2 to see how many carats we have in order to get a very rough idea of their worth. I know that's oversimplifying to a terrible degree, but it would provide a ballpark." "It would," Ed said. "Let's." "I have a very good idea concerning how much the diamonds weigh, but if I may," Balloony interjection, "perhaps we should talk strategy first." "Oh, yes," Lizzie said, shaking her head and smiling. "So sorry, it's just we've been wishing and hoping and thinking and praying and planning and dreaming for so long about finding these that it's like a miracle from the blue." "Understood, but if we aren't very careful, Brency is likely to dash in, take everything away, and leave you with nothing but bitter regrets."